Hi all, and welcome to another of my travel videos. Today I'm going to talk about visiting Marrakech, my experiences and my recommendations. So my girlfriend and I did Marrakech, our first trip abroad, a few years back now, and we did the trip back in March. So when we went out there, sort of start of March, the weather out there was warm, but not hot, and I would say like the best part of 20 degrees. So both of us had previously been interested in travelling out to Morocco for reasons such as its enchanting and intriguing perceptions, its bustling markets and souks, and a different cultural perspective. So in terms of the flights getting out there, the flights were easy, taking just over 3.5 hours, and we went out with Ryanair from Stansted. And what may be comforting to some is that Marrakech is on the same time zone as England, so there was never any danger of our body clocks feeling out of sync. So we got a good but early flight out from Stansted, with our flight being at 6 a.m, giving us the whole day to explore the place. And we stayed at a place called the Riyadh Sapphire Hotel and Spa, which is in Marrakech's Old Town. I'll hasten to add that I didn't find this, my girlfriend did, and it was found as a recommended hotel in the newspaper. I can't remember which one. I think it was like either the Guardian or Telegraph, certainly one of the broadsheets. And in terms of organising the holidays, I usually organise the logistics part. And regardless of anything, I like to get all the costs paid for and out of the way with. And wherever I go, I always organise a transfer from the airport to take us to where we're staying, unless there's a good reason not to. So we got to the airport in Marrakech, and the interior looked pleasant and up to date. Certainly, from a country like Marrakech, I wouldn't have expected such an airport, to look as modern as maybe like the London airports do. So we're getting through things at a fast pace, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be really easy. We're going to get through the rest of it fine. There'll be someone holding up a sign with my name on it, and we'll be taken to a hotel. So firstly though, we had to sort our money out, and we thought there'll be an ATM where we can take out the desired amount. And this is one thing to be mindful of when travelling to Morocco, is that Morocco has a closed currency. So for those that don't know, you cannot get Moroccan money, which is the dirham, in any other country. So looking around for cash points, I couldn't find one in sight. And then all the travellers coming in were getting directed to us and to a series of booths in which to get money. So we then start to get all of these offers and deals presented to us, with people saying one thing and then the other when you're trying to confirm it, and it all becomes really confusing. And I'm starting to doubt that even someone like Martin Lewis could get his head around it. So eventually we settled on getting a car which has some money on it, which was usable, but I just thought it could have been a much easier process. So we got into our lift, which took us to the hotel, and we'd let the hotel know that we were on our way. So where we stayed was off-road, so one of the hotel employees picked us up on arrival, and we walked a short distance to our hotel, or in Morocco they call it a riad. And on arrival, on arrival to the hotel, we were greeted with a Moroccan tea and snack, and the hotel manager advised us on what not to do when out in town. So after that was complete, we headed for the main square in the marina corner in Marrakech, which is called Jamar Alfna. So we were taking everything in and looking at this enchanting nature, having a look around the shops, and then a couple of guys in traditional Moroccan clothing and playing various presumably native instruments started singing and dancing around us. So naturally, in a good mood while we were taking it all in, they asked if we wanted a picture. So call to God, we were like, sure, that's fine. And it was only afterwards, when the penny perhaps literally dropped, that these guys were con artists. So they were hassling us for money, and they were shouting in our faces, which started to become very unnerving. And you don't know how many of these people are like operating around the main square. And I would certainly say that the police probably wouldn't be interested. So I just thought, okay, we've made the mistake, we'll just pay the money and just get it out of the way with. So in the end, we lost around £30, which in the context of things isn't a massive figure, but it still left a sour taste in the mouth. So moving on from that, so in the evening we went to a lovely restaurant, just literally a stone's throw from where we were staying, and even being in that in the restaurant, it felt like we were kind of in a different world. So it was very enchanting, so things like flower petals and on the tables, and it sort of felt very very grand and cultural. So the general cuisine in Morocco is typically dishes like couscous, chicken and lamb. So what I found out, and what we found out, was the dishes are usually only top heavy in either carbs or protein. I remember earlier that day, like getting lemon chicken, and if you're getting lemon chicken in this country, I do, and most people would think it would be like some Chinese dish, but it was different to that, and it only came. It was just chicken. There was no rice or no carbohydrate that went with it. So one of the places we ate it, I think it was on the second night, we got given a load of couscous which had vegetables on top of it. And although the taste and the presentation to it was really nice, the couscous just looked like a giant mound, and it would have easily filled up the average sized person. So then after the meal on the first night, it wasn't late, so we just thought of heading back into the main square. And if we were in, like, say, maybe any other country in Europe, we'd have like gone and found a couple of bars to have a couple of drinks, and we wanted to head back. But after the earlier incident, and sort of having been up since like 4 o'clock that morning, we just couldn't bring ourselves to it. So we ended up like going to this stall just that was fairly adjacent to where we'd just come out of, and just buying drinks. It probably looked like something from the Disney film Aladdin, and we just ended up drinking fizzy drinks on the hotel rooftop. So onto the subject of alcohol, despite Morocco being a Muslim country, alcohol is available, but only typically in the restaurants. We were told, and we found on the last night, only one bar, which was a cocktail bar, that served alcohol. But even then, I was reluctant to drink much at all, as I always felt like I had to be on guard. So in comparison, and having been to another Muslim country like Turkey, getting alcohol in Turkey was easier than Morocco, but getting alcohol in Morocco was harder, but compared to perhaps somewhere like Saudi Arabia, is probably a million times easier. So on to the second and first full day, we had a camel riding trip planned to visit a Berber village. So for those that don't know, the Berbers are an ethnic group who are native to the North African region. Getting there, however, could have been a lot harder, as found out. So in the morning, our hotel manager told us where we needed to go, and we needed to meet the tour guide. So very kindly just took us there, so we knew exactly where to go. So we had to meet outside this disused cinema, a few minutes walk from where we were staying. And had we not been shown where to go, it's likely fair to say that knowing where to go would have been a struggle. So we got there in the early afternoon, and we were typically early, and we stand around waiting. And one thing I learnt very quickly is that if you're in a country outside of Europe, or somewhere where the general population isn't ethnically Caucasian, you can stick out and get attention. So for me, being over 6 foot tall and pale, Morocco, and specifically Marrakech, was only going to have one outcome. So immediately people started coming up to me, seeing that I'm clearly a tourist, saying, "Are you waiting for a tour?" So naturally thinking that this might be the tour person that we're waiting for, I say yes. People are then saying to me, "Oh, come into my car, I can sort you out," or "I've got agents," or "I know people that can sort out a tour for you and what you're looking for." So I say, "Camel riding," I say, "Yeah, we can sort that out for you." And so from the previous day in general, I couldn't help but be dubious. So we had a few of these people try this trick, and then out of nowhere, this guy comes up to me with a phone with someone on the other line. So the other person says to me, "Are you here for a camel riding tour?" And I'm kind of thinking, yeah, this guy could just be trying something on. He could be just trying to blag it. And to which I reply, yes. And then I asked the guy to tell me whose name it is on the tour and my girlfriend's name. And fair enough, the guy gets it right. And then when he can see me, I ask him what colour shirt I'm wearing. So when I meet him, he shows me the booking, and rest assured, it is the right person. And the booking is from Vieta, who is the company I booked the excursion with. So that could have gone, for all I know, that could have gone awfully wrong. We could have just been taken up into the mountains in some random person's car and then just been scammed out of a load of money. But thankfully that didn't happen. So once we got to the place, it was brilliant. So although unnerving at first, it was great riding a camel, and the tour was well organised and fun. And we went to a Berber village where the locals greeted us and gave us the refreshments. And from a cultural perspective, it was like worlds apart from what we have in England. So on to that specific evening, we went to another lovely restaurant, and again I can't remember the name of it, but we went to a place which looked like the setting for an Alfred Hitchcock movie and had a 5-course meal. So the food was very cultural, and so was the entertainment, with there being a belly dancer and with their people with their traditional instruments and clothing. So on to the final day, we had a trip up to the Atlas Mountains, and I will admit this was the most relaxed I'd been on the holiday so far. So our tour guide was someone who spoke good English, was welcoming, and could drove us in a new 4x4 up into the mountains. So we stopped in a few places along the way where we could stop and take pictures of the surrounding views and take it all in. And the scenery there was lovely. And what's funny, when you're looking up at the Atlas Mountains, you wouldn't think so in a country like Morocco, but there's actually snow on top of the mountains. And I would imagine perhaps Morocco hasn't even seen snow before, certainly in Marrakech. So when we arrived at the place, we got to a small town where we could have a wander around, look at the shops, have a walk and see the rivers and waterfall, and also had another chance to see a Berber family. So although relaxed there, I will admit that within minutes of arrival that there were a couple of beggars who could see that we were clearly tourists and started begging and saying that they were king of the Berbers and all sorts. And although frustrating, it thankfully wasn't too persistent, and they got the hint sooner or later. So to sum things up, I'll give you my summary and some pointers on Marrakech. So would I recommend going to Marrakech? Ultimately, yes, I would, but only if you are, or you think you're the type who wants such a holiday and wants to experience something different. So for example, if you're someone who really enjoys going to the tourist resorts in and around the sunny places in Europe and likes a carefree holiday and not like being accosted, it probably isn't the right place for you, I would say. If, however, you are someone who wants to experience something enchanting, different culturally, and wants to push yourself out your comfort zone, then yes, definitely, I would. So moving on, perhaps what I've said may sort of have sounded a bit unnerving and put people off. So the question is, Marrakech safe? I would say ultimately yes it is, but you have to have your wits about you. But probably not have to be like 100% vigilant. So for example, you can walk around easily and safely, and Morocco wants the tourism. Just bear in mind that you might be accosted. I mean, if people say, oh, do you want directions to go such and such, do you want to go to such a place, you just politely say no, and they will generally 9 times out of 10 just get the hint. So things not to do when there is, do things like ask for directions from random people, and if you're offered the chance from a photograph like from bitter experience, don't do it. So the main things I would say to bear in mind are from Morocco is that Morocco is a closed currency, and there's nothing you can do about getting money until you land. And as mentioned before, alcohol is only typically available in restaurants and hotels. The toilet system in general in Morocco isn't the best, and perhaps you can tell that it's clearly got a former French colony and former French influence, and that call to prayer happens every day in Marrakech. And I think I was woken up sort of on the days at around 5 a.m. Thankfully, it didn't mess my sleep up, and I got back straight away. But it does happen. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and hopefully I'll be back some other time with another video from my travels. All the best, and see you later.